I've said before that Brandon Sanderson's science fiction tends to be of less than quality. But just because something isn't good doesn't mean it can't be enjoyable. Look at Wormwood and the Green Lantern movie. Well, I would normally recommend against picking up any Sanderson sci-fi. Today we're going to talk about one of the ones that's actually worth reading, despite having all of the same problems as usual. Hello everyone, welcome to the Book Cafe, where we review books, talk fantasy, and interview industry professionals. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and if you're a veteran, welcome back. Anyone with a passing familiarity of this channel will know that I'm a longtime fan of Brandon Sanderson. I believe his fantasy is incredible, to the point where I've tracked down and read several of his unpublished works. However, if you've watched my review of Legion, you'll also know that I find his sci-fi difficult at best. The characters tend to be lackluster, plot is underwhelming, and he breaks his own rules on the best ways to use magic and sci-fi technology in a narrative fashion. So when I read Steelheart, I was a little bit surprised. Steelheart is Sanderson's take on the superhero genre, with one crucial exception. Everyone who gets superpowers is driven incurably homicidally insane. The superhumans, or epics as they're called, all begin jockeying for power, overthrowing governments and establishing their own fiefdoms, to the point where they become classified as natural disasters instead of people. Steelheart is set in New Chicago, which is the personal domain of the epic Steelheart, that he rules with an iron fist. David Charleston is part of a group of ordinary humans called the Reckoners, who hunt down and kill epics in order to free humanity from their grasp. Every epic has a weakness, something that they're terrified of that deprives them of their powers. Steelheart's weakness is unknown. But David Charleston is the only person who knows he has one, because David is the only person who's ever seen the man bleed. Now, Steelheart and the rest of the Reckoners trilogy is, like most of Sanderson's sci-fi, a bit of a mess. But unlike the rest of his sci-fi, the chaotic nature of the story actually works in its favor. And while the protagonist is a bit flat as a character, that is more than made up for by the multi-dimensionality of all of the characters around him. Megan and John Phaedrus are fantastic characters. I loved their story. I loved their struggle, how they come to terms with the world they live in and the circumstances they find themselves in. I'd share more, but that would be a massive spoiler. Suffice to say, both of them are fantastic. I loved Abraham as well, the man who, despite being part of a group that hunts superhumans, still has not lost faith in superheroes. Every member of the Reckoners, except David, is a study in contrasts, and is extremely well done. The power sets of the epics make no sense. Instead of leaving that unexplained the way he might do with some of his other sci-fi, Sanderson actually sticks to his own rules of magic, to the point where the fact that it doesn't make sense is a plot point, and that thread is how the characters eventually figure out where the powers come from, how they work, and why they make their bearers homicidal megalomaniacs. Steelheart is not as good as anything Sanderson has written for the Cosmere, but it is better than any of his other sci-fi. I do recommend you read it, but you should probably buy it used. Sort of a buy it used and a half. It deserves better than buy it used, but it doesn't quite deserve a buy it new rating. Overall, I really enjoyed this book, but it's like eating bubblegum for lunch. Yeah, it's tasty, but you're not going to get a lot of nutrition from it. Have you read Steelheart? What do you think? Do you disagree with me? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to show it by clicking on the like button. Click here on the dragon to subscribe, or here for more videos like this from the Book Cafe. I will see everyone on Sunday, and until then, read good fantasy.